Morning. First of all, this is not a set. That is an actual wood stove keeping us alive this morning. That is the mug I drink from on Sunday mornings. But listen, I'd like to talk for just a minute or two about the Lord's Prayer. I assume you know the Lord's Prayer. It occurs both in Matthew and in Luke. And oddly, the version in Matthew has come to be known as the traditional Lord's Prayer. The version in Luke is called the alternative or new Lord's Prayer, and they are both equally ancient. In Luke, the Lord's Prayer occurs in answer to a question. The disciples asked Jesus, "How should we pray?" What an excellent question. A question we should ask of anyone that we would regard as a spiritual guide or teacher. How should we pray? What is prayer anyway? Maybe prayer is anything that we do or say to connect us with the divine. Right? How do we talk to God and know that God is listening? How do we listen to God and hear rightly? How do we pray? Jesus said, keep it simple. Just do this. Boom. Lord's Prayer. Now, I don't think he meant just say these words. Lord's Prayer is not a magical incantation. I don't think he even meant it, as a complete prayer in itself, but rather as a way of saying, here are the key points. Cover these points and see where it takes you. And actually, each part of the Lord's Prayer is a jumping off point. It's a door that opens to wider prayer. It's a blossom that opens. So if I may, I'd like to just crack one of those doors for a moment. On earth as it is in heaven. On earth as it is in heaven. Sometimes I swap out the word heaven and put in spirit. The word heaven is kind of laden. It's come to mean a place, usually an afterlife place. But I don't think that's quite what Jesus meant by using that word. So on earth as in spirit. And that implies that there is a spiritual reality. A spiritual reality behind everything. A spiritual reality which is perfect, complete, lacking in nothing, beautiful in holiness. And so our prayer is that this spiritual reality would be realized on earth, in our lives, in our body and mind, and in the world, in the day-to-day. To accomplish this, we pray that we may become a door, opening to the Spirit, an open conduit for perfect Spirit to flow into the world. It doesn't mean that we make anything happen. It doesn't mean that we're responsible for making that happen, but rather that we allow the divine to be what it is. We let God be God in and through our own life on earth as in heaven. Speaking of which, excuse me, Mary Oliver passed away just a few days ago. If you're not familiar with Mary Oliver, she is, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest poets of the English language. And here's a little fragment, if I may, of one of her poems. The god of dirt came to me many times and said so many wise and delectable things. I lay on the grass listening to his dog voice, crow voice, frog voice. Now he said, and now, and never once mentioned forever.